All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to ConvertLabs Conversations. And today we have Isaac. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, Kevin. It's great to see you again. Glad to be here and looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. If you could just kind of introduce yourself and your business a little bit, where you guys are located, and maybe like a little bit of like your revenue, how big you guys are, your team, or something like that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Isaac Klopfenstein. I own and run Columbus Cleaning Service in Columbus, Ohio. Um, I originally started out with a cleaning business in Chicago named Golden Goal. And when I was still teaching, started that business, ran it completely remote. Have since sold that business, started Columbus Cleaning Service at the beginning of 2024. So we had our first booking in April of that year. So we're just over 2 years old here in Columbus, and it has been an absolute wild ride. At the end of 2024, my wife came in to help with operations. So she runs most of the day-to-day operations now. I'm doing a lot of the back-end stuff, a lot of the planning and relationship building. We've built it to the point we are going to have our first six-figure month this month. So it's been a wild ride. The growth has been absolutely incredible. I was looking actually back at the last 2 years of numbers. We tripled from 2024 to 2025. From June 2024 to June 2025, we tripled. And from June 2025 to June 2026, we tripled. So we've tripled each of the last 2 years. So I don't know. The growth feels unsustainable, but at this point in time, we're just kind of living palms up and sees what happens.
Yeah, if you map it out for the next 10 years, you guys will be doing like $1 trillion.
Yeah, right.
Um,
just continue that growth path and yeah.
yeah. That's so great, man. I mean, so like people always talk about like the market's like oversaturated and whatnot, and you guys are just doing so well. Like, what do you attribute it to? Is there any like real competition in your area?
And so it's actually funny. So for anybody who's watched any of Vic's YouTube videos, Vic was my mentor when I first started. She always recommended like the small to medium sized cities. And I completely understand why. We chose to attack the whole city. And so Columbus, for a little bit of background, Columbus is about 1 million people. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And it is big as opposed to tall. So if you can imagine, it's a very Midwest style type city. There's just a ton of space and people continue to fill that space. So there is a downtown area, but not what you would expect from $1 million city or 1 million people city. The market here is growing rapidly. And I think one of the coolest things that we discovered when we first started, we took on basically anything, as so many first-time business owners are almost required to do. You've got to make income, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in that stage, it's a stage where if somebody needs cleaning, your answer is yes.
Yeah.
Even for the jobs where you don't know how, you say yes, and then you figure out how. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know how we're going to clean it. And you just figure it out, right? You figure it out and you go. So we tried everything. Last year at this time, we were doing a lot of Airbnb. We were probably 40 to 50% of our revenue was in Airbnb last year at this time. And it was good. It was working well for us, but it is very hands-on. It's very demanding. Everything just needs to be, very nearly perfect. And we mutually parted ways with the company that was giving us most of our Airbnb work. And it felt like a big setback. But in the grand scheme of things, looking back, we believe it was God just opening space for what was right. We realized that Airbnbs was not right for us. And that was a great opportunity to open space for what was right. And so we tried a lot of things, right? And we tried commercial. We've obviously done a lot of residential. And at this point in time, what we have found is that we've really leaned into the large multifamily. So apartment communities, cleaning their common areas, and then also doing their turn cleans. It works well for our cleaners. It works well for our systems. We've got some really good things going. So that's where we have really focused in on and what we have turned a lot of our attention to. Now, apartment communities isn't exactly something we can just advertise to, right? We don't just put up Google ads and say, I want to attract these apartment communities. It's something that we've really had to lean into more personal relationships. So that's where we are really focusing right now, is growing those multifamily relationships and targeting property management groups that have, multiple properties all across the city. And that's an area that's really growing significantly here in Columbus.
How do you do that? What does that look like? how do you even start that relationship? How do you find them?
For us in particular, so I'm also a real estate agent. So I have some background in real estate, and I had some relationships in real estate. And what I did is I really leaned into those personal relationships that were already established. So I know some people who have large real estate portfolios. The two in particular that I'm really close with don't own any in here in Columbus. They're more, saturated around the South and Carolinas in that area, but they do know people who have a large multifamily presence here in the city. And so I relied on a lot of introductions, a lot of cold introductions, a lot of networking groups. And so we've joined Columbus Apartment Association. We've joined some of those groups where, where do those people hang out? And wherever they hang out, that's where we need to be hanging out. And so we started attending a lot of events and getting, more involved in some of those circles. I think the coolest thing for us recently is what we have found is those generic organizations like Columbus Apartment Association are great, right? Those people are there. But to niche down even further, we're very mission oriented. And right now, where we are heading is we want to provide opportunities for people coming out of difficult situations. So, in particular, they are disadvantaged due to situational homelessness or whatever it might be, abusive relationships, whatever sort of disadvantaged situations those people are coming out of, we want to be an option or a lifeline to give them an opportunity, to give them a first chance or a second chance to provide for their family. Knowing that that's where we're heading, we started looking for some other organizations who were trying to do the same thing in the real estate space. So we found a couple of organizations that are really working to tackle situational homelessness in the city. Somebody living paycheck to paycheck loses their job and all of a sudden they're at risk of losing their house. We want to partner and lock arms with these real estate organizations who are trying to solve that problem. So there's one in particular that their whole organization is based around, giving people a room inside of an apartment community and then giving them a job within that community. So they're working maintenance, they're working, the leasing office where they are getting income and they're able to provide them housing. So organizations like that have been really, really cool to lock arms with. And what we found is those are the organizations where we really have developed and grown our most deep relationships. It's not necessarily the generic ones.
Are those organizations where you're getting a lot of, like your cleaners, or are you finding them also from other places as well on your own?
That's a great question. So we have had some cleaners come through there. So people who are, going through those programs or have faced some of those situations, we've been able to connect with some people that way. I would say that very first relationship that we started like that, we were actually donating to a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit that helps single parents with multiple children, give them a place for like after school programs and things like that. When we reached out to them, they had plenty of like Christmas gifts for kids. What they didn't have were gifts, anything for the parents. And so what we did is we bought robes and slippers for all the single moms in that program. And through that process, my wife was dropping them off, met some of the volunteers. One volunteer in particular really, I think, connected with my wife. And she has become an outstanding cleaner for us. And not only that, she's become an outstanding leader for us. So she's been working for us for close to 6 months. Her daughter is working for us now. One of her sons is working for us. Her brother's working for us. Her sister's working for us. Her two kids are working for us.
Great.
I mean, it's been awesome to stretch throughout this community that we otherwise, have never known about or never had access to, but we're able to provide some opportunities to people that has been created some really, really cool stories.
Almost a better metric than revenue.
100%.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. So over the past 6 to 9 months, our mantra, our motto has been impact over income, and that's how we're measuring success right now. We certainly keep an eye on revenue. It's a one metric that measures the health of our organization and our business. But in the grand scheme of things, the number of lives that we're touching and the number of lives that we're changing is really the number that we're after.
It's hard, like, especially in cleaning, it's not the easiest business sometimes. And so if you have something more than just like money, it gives you so much more of a reason to keep going and growing, you know?
100%. And we even share that with our cleaners too. I was actually on site in an apartment complex this morning. And one of the cleaners, she's been on site for about 2 weeks, and I visited on Saturday, and I'm like, it didn't look up to our standards. And so I showed up this morning, told her I'm going to be here. We're going to do a walkthrough together. And we did it. And one of the things that I pointed out is, look, this is a relationship with a property management group that has lots more properties. This is the first one. If we knock this out of the park, we get to provide opportunities at those other communities as well. So you crush this, all of a sudden you are helping us provide an opportunity to somebody else at a different building, right? And then also recognizing our role that this is somebody's home, right? These common areas, these lobbies, these stairwells, people aren't sleeping there, but it's part of their home. This is a condo building, and they're paying their hard-earned money for us to help take care of their home. And I think when you personalize it like that, from a cleaner perspective, it gives deeper meaning to what the work that they're doing as well. They're not just sweeping a floor; they're helping us provide opportunities to other people.
That's a really good point. It's almost as if you're giving them an opportunity to help more people by them just doing a good job.
Yep.
It's like changing the perspective.
Absolutely.
You know?
100%. It
Yeah.
gives much more meaning. One of my favorite books is Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And when you realize the purpose behind your work,
Yeah.
it changes everything.
That's great. So like what percentage of your business is these these units, these multifamily units or, these properties versus just like single family homes?
So last time I ran an in-depth analysis, we were about 60% residential and about 40% commercial / multifamily. So of that 40%, probably 30 to 35 was multifamily. And then the rest was like other commercial offices and things like that. If I reran the numbers right now, we'd be much closer to 50-50. So residential side is growing, but it's not growing as fast as our multifamily side is. So I would guess we're pretty close to 50-50, maybe a little bit more leaning towards the multifamily side.
And then on your like single family side, which is probably what most people are going to start off with, right? Where are you finding your customers, or how are they finding you? Do you have some breakdown? Like, what's working, what's not working on the marketing side?
And one thing I'll say about that too, we couldn't take some of those people that we were hiring, we couldn't take them and ask them to go clean a house. Because cleaning a house is wildly different than cleaning an apartment complex. When we go to an apartment complex, I can take all the supplies that are needed. I can give them a very detailed checklist. They're cleaning the exact same space every single day. They can walk into that, they can own that building, they can become part of the community, and it's a fantastic opportunity for them. I cannot do the same thing and send them into a house, and it's just much harder to set them up for success that way, because every house is different, every countertop is different, the supplies needed are different. It's just a different sort of situation. So finding cleaners who can go into any house is a different animal in itself. So we've used Indeed and some things like that, Facebook groups, scouring for anybody who looks like a small company or a single cleaner. Looking for jobs on Facebook has always been a good thing for us too. But in terms of customers, those residential customers, and I fully agree that especially when you're first getting started, this is absolutely the best way to start, in my opinion, is starting out with those residential jobs. When we were first starting out, and especially when I was starting my business in Chicago, Yelp honestly was where I found most of my customers in Chicago. When I opened my business in Columbus, I was kind of expecting to go a similar route. Did not work. Yelp, for whatever reason, is not nearly as popular in Columbus as it is in Chicago. And so that was something that I realized is Yelp is actually very regional. Like there are areas and regions of the country where Yelp is really, really popular, and you can absolutely make money using Yelp. There are also some areas in the country where you're going to lose your shorts on Yelp. Like you're just going to keep pumping money into it, and it is not going to have the same returns. So in Columbus, I had a longer term vision, I think, when I started this company, and had made the mistakes that I made in Chicago. And we really had the goal of really getting a lot of our business through organic SEO. It doesn't happen right away. And we spent a lot of money on Google Ads at the beginning to kind of get the snowball rolling. Because once you
Mhm.
get it rolling, like the SEO works, right? And if you have your website set up correctly, and obviously you guys at ConvertLabs are able to roll out a website that right out of the box is optimized for the things that we needed to do. So we got a lot of our early jobs through Google, even if we knew we were paying a lot for them, like on Google local services. You're not going to make a lot of money on Google local services, but you can get jobs. And so even if it's a job where you're, break even or you only make whatever, 10, 20 bucks on your end, getting those people through, letting Google know that you are a legitimate company, getting your Google reviews up, like taking some of those jobs where you don't make that much money early on, I think is well worth it if you really
Yeah.
have the long game in mind.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, like, the first couple months, I was like, "I'm happy to break even if I could just grow really quickly." That's all I cared about, and I spent, I mean, I was foolish at the time, but, like, I spent everything I had on just growing and just trying to get as many, customers and recurring customers as I can.
That's a great point too. If you can get a recurring client and if you don't make anything on that first job, it's well worth it. I think the
Yeah,
last time I ran numbers, I think our lifetime value of a customer was close to $3,000. That's
yeah,
wild. And when you put it
yeah.
into that perspective that, hey, this isn't a one time, $300 job, this is a $3,000 client, gives some different perspective to ad spend and customer acquisition.
Yeah, that's really important to know, and I was speaking to another, cleaning company owner, and he said that really understanding that number is something that allowed his company to grow a lot more because everyone wants to, say, "Oh, why am I gonna spend $100 to acquire a recurring customer, right? And I'm gonna lose that money on the first 2 cleans." But if that average customer brings in $3,000 over time, it's well worth it to spend $100 or more. You
100%.
know, it's harder when you're small, right? And it's hard to do that, but if you can, it totally makes sense.
Absolutely. I'm a big Alex Ramosi fan, and that's something he talks about a lot: is lifetime value versus customer
Right.
acquisition, and keeping that ratio healthy. If you know those two numbers, it really puts marketing into perspective for you.
Absolutely, yeah, because marketing always seems expensive
Yeah,
when you're in, like, the week to week or month to month, cycles of, like, paying bills and payroll and everything, for sure. So where are you guys spending money right now on marketing?
so we actually brought on. We're kind of calling him a fractional CMO, where he's kind of running the whole marketing side of things. He takes care of all of our social media. He runs all of our ads. Right now,
Yeah.
we haven't run Google ads in probably 6 months. He's focusing on Meta ads and organic social media content, newsletter, some of that sort of thing, some of those sort of things. That's pretty much where we're at. Like we're relying a lot on organic, showing up organically, and it's hard as a early stage business owner to hear that and have it mean anything because you're not going to get them right away. It's a matter of making sure you're consistent, that you're consistently posting, whether that's blogs, whatever that might be, making sure you're getting reviews. I think reviews on Google are huge. Almost every customer that we get organically mentions our Google reviews. And so we are very intentional, not just about asking for them, but making sure we're asking the right people for them. So again, you guys at ConvertLabs are sending out these automated messages. So we get an internal rating that comes to our email and says, how was your service? Anybody who just puts a 5-star there, we're immediately reaching out. Copy and paste. Here's the review you left on an internal system. Would you mind leaving that on Google? Here's the link. To all they have to do: copy, click the link, paste, done. Anybody who doesn't rate us as 5-star in that internal system, we're immediately reaching out and saying, hey, how can we fix this? How can we make this a 5-star experience for you? And so being very intentional about asking for those reviews, I think, is really important early on.
Yeah, and the second part is really important too. Like, if somebody did not have a good experience, I just want to say really quickly, like, it's very easy to, like, want to retreat when that happens because it's easy to take that personal. When you have a customer that doesn't have a good experience, and I think that's where a lot of people fail at. But you have to, like, go on the attack, and, like, whenever somebody doesn't have a good experience, you really have to rectify that before it becomes a negative review. People are always kind of waiting for you to, like, fix things and make it better. And most people want to give you the benefit of the doubt before they will go and like leave you a negative review. And even when they do leave you a negative review, oftentimes it's them saying like, "Hey, can you still make this right? Like I'm upset, that you guys didn't, do this. And I feel like I spent money and I didn't get value for it or something like that. So yeah, really, really important to always reach out when somebody didn't have a good experience because there's just so many things that are out of your control.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that my wife running operations does a really good job of leaning into those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Most people just want to be heard. Like you said, they just want they just want to be
Yes.
heard. They want to feel like somebody's actually listening to what their experience was like.
Yeah. And if they're upset, like they want you to be upset too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's the
Yep.
most frustrating thing whenever you've like reached out to customer support and you're just frustrated about something and you hear someone with like just they're so monotone and like they're just like, okay, yeah, no problem, blah blah blah. And it's like, I'm upset, why are you not upset? Like
Hearing you say this,
crazy.
I literally just had a conversation with Wells Fargo a couple hours ago. This
Yeah,
exact situation. I'm frustrated because they're not seeing what I think they should be seeing. And this
yeah,
lady's just completely like, and you're right. It was because
yeah,
she did not match her emotion to my emotion.
yeah,
And if she
yeah,
had, I would have felt more heard. I wasn't feeling heard because my emotion was not matched by her emotion.
yeah. When they say like, okay, sir, no problem, blah 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 blah. It's like
No, there's a problem.
now there's a problem. Yeah. It's just it's like it's a lot of the small things that you can do to like really disarm somebody. And
Yep.
then the next thing you know, like they're your biggest fans,
Yep.
right? Because now you guys are on the same team together instead of adversaries,
Yep.
right? Yeah. Yeah, really interesting. So okay, we talked a little bit about marketing side. Anything else you want to kind of go over on the marketing side of things? I mean, do you think it's any like harder now than when you first started? Is there more competition in your area?
There definitely is competition. I'll be honest. I think that we try to, and I would recommend this to anybody. The answer should be no. You do not have competition because you are different than every other cleaning company out there. And I don't know how that is. You've got to figure that out for yourself. But you should be able to say, no, they're not my competition. They don't do what we do. We are a local family owned company that is small enough to take care of every single issue and have those conversations with the owner when you have them. And we're big enough to have this online system that you can book online and you never have to reach out. We'll automatically schedule these things for you. You set it and you don't have to worry about it again. We'll take your credit card information, we'll keep it secure, and we'll charge it every time. You don't have to worry about anything. So being small enough to feel local family owned, but having some of those systems that some big companies have put us in a very unique situation. So when I hear that, like, no, I don't think, and there's actually, I think it's called Blue Ocean Strategy, is a great book that you don't have to compete, right? Just be different. And so, do we have competition? Yeah, of course we do, right? It's a big enough city that there's lots of cleaning companies. It's also a big enough city where there's lots of cleaning opportunities. So knowing your
Mhm.
niche, knowing what you're specializing in, and then be unapologetically different. Like, no, they're not the same as we are. We do this better than they do, or we do it differently at least, and we do it better in our way. So I think figuring out what that is, what that unique differentiator is really important for any business, but especially in the cleaning industry where it can all of a sudden get very commoditized.
Yeah, it's really easy to look at your competition and think that they're perfect. All their systems are down, like they've just got everything like tightened up, buttoned up and just doing a great job. And it's oftentimes like it's not the case at all.
Right.
Sometimes it's like a complete mess,
Oh yeah.
and,
And
and
also
they're missing efficiency left and right.
we've taken over some jobs within different apartment complexes and we're like, they did it how? Like, what did they do? Like, they
Yeah,
did that. Why would it?
yeah,
It's just like, okay, we're going to give you a different experience, right? We're going to
yeah,
give you a different experience. We're going to try to make this easier for you. Some apartment community managers love it. Some community managers don't. And I'll be completely honest. Like, we lost, well, last month, I think it was in June. Last month, we lost our biggest account. It made up about 18% of our revenue. And we got a notification like, hey, we just can't do this anymore. It's like I think the communication became too much. It's a big complex. It's a young property manager, and she just got overwhelmed. We were letting her know, hey, this unit, this needs fixed, that needs fixed. This unit had this going on. We were trying to be proactive and help her out. She got overwhelmed, and they're like, okay, this partnership isn't working. And like, is what it is, right? That is who we are. We're going to continue to do that. Some property managers really appreciate it, and some don't. Very much like I said about our Airbnb, when we lost that big account, I think God was opening up space, because literally, 2 weeks later, we got what will end up being probably 4 or 5 times bigger than that. So an account that's significantly bigger than that. So sometimes those setbacks end up being huge blessings.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
No. Feels like the sky is falling. It's over.
Yeah. It's so much like the Steve Jobs, the speech he gave at Stanford, the graduation speech, where he talks about you can only like connect the dots looking backwards, never forwards, right? Where it's like things make sense when you look back, but when you're in the moment, or when you're going through something, like it never feels like that, you know?
And you build to a place, and you're talking about competition, you build to a place that is beyond where those competitors are willing to go. And every time you overcome one of those obstacles, every time you overcome one of those challenges, every time you're willing to have those difficult conversations, you're putting yourself a little bit above where the sea of averages lives. And so when we
Right.
walk into those apartment communities now, we know we're able to offer something different because we've been through a lot of really hard stuff, and we've
Yeah.
overcome a lot of hard obstacles, and we've learned from those things. And so when we walk in confidently, it's because we've made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, that's really important thing, because like unfortunately, like so many businesses are just very mediocre,
Mhm.
and especially in cleaning, like a lot of people will get to a point where they like automate everything, the business runs itself, they go and do something else, and then it just slowly deteriorates over time because you have a manager who's just collecting a paycheck, and they don't have the passion that you do.
Right.
And that's why, like, even though there can be like what appears on paper to be lots of competition in your area, oftentimes they're just not either providing a really great service, or they're just there's a lot of ways that they're letting the ball drop,
Right.
a lot of stuff.
And even the great ones, they're not all focusing in the areas that we're focusing in, right? They're not all focused on these large multifamily properties.
Right.
They're focusing, and they're doing a great job doing on Airbnbs. They're doing a great job on large apartment or large office buildings. They're doing a great job. They've got their lane, we've got our lane. And I think when you really lean into that, you can become, top 5% just by focusing on your niche.
Absolutely. And it's not hard to do that at all when you consider, like if you look at like the average cleaning company is just not like they're just not great at all, right? And then you have to realize that like 50% of them are worse.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
put that in
okay,
perspective.
yeah, there's quite a bit of opportunity there. If we could go into hiring a little bit, I mean, I know that you were talking about, you're giving a lot of people, these second chance opportunities. What about like the other side? If you're trying to hire like a regular residential cleaner, where are you finding them? Like, what is kind of your flow? You know, somebody, sends in a resume, like what happens? Like, what's all that about?
I would say we have found probably more than half of our residential cleaners have come from Indeed. And
Mm,
so we've put up Indeed ads, and we use some of their automations so that as soon as, I'm going through, and almost all, the only thing I'm looking for is residential cleaning experience, because we can get hundreds of applications in a matter of, 10 hours.
yeah.
One day up on Indeed, like we can get hundreds of applications. So I'm trying to go through those as quickly as possible. Basically, that hiring day is blocked off of my calendar. I know that I want to be on Indeed. I mean, almost that entire 10 hours, because as soon as somebody clicks on that and sends in, or, automatically sends in their resume, if they have residential cleaning experience, I immediately want to hit, whatever it is, approve or whatever it is. And then they get an automated message that has a link to a Google form that is like an internal application. Essentially, with that internal application, we want to see, can you click on a link and follow it? Because if not, you're not our cleaner. Like we need you to be able to use the online system. We need you to be able to, check in and check out. We need you to be able to look at the checklist that we put online. So there's a couple of like background pieces of information that we're gathering here. Can you copy this link, paste it into your browser, and go to this Google form? Can you fill out that Google form using somewhat coherent language, right? Can you communicate via text? Because if not, you're not our cleaner. If we need to talk to you on the phone every time in order to be able to communicate, it's just not going to work, right? That's not
Yeah.
how we can scale. So we have them go through that internal application. For the most part, those questions, there's not really any question that's going to disqualify people. It's not like a test by any means. We're just testing kind of communication skills. From there, my wife gets them on the phone. So then that's kind of that's the back end sort of stuff that I'm pretty good at, automating the systems, making sure everything's going through. Then I kind of hand them off to my wife, Jenna, and then she gets them on the phone because she has a superpower of reading people. So when she gets them on the phone, she really is looking for what type of person is this? And what she's looking for is like attitude. Is
Yeah.
this someone who is a team player, right? Are they willing to take advice? Are they willing to take suggestions? Are they willing to see that this work can be something bigger than themselves? And so from there, it's test clean. And I'll be honest, even at this point, I don't remember the last time we had a cleaner do a test clean that wasn't a booking. Because, like I've mentioned, we have a lot of turn cleans right now. We can
Uh-huh.
send a new cleaner to a turn clean, have them do it. It's unoccupied. They get the keys, they go in, they let themselves in, they take as long as they need. And then we have a more experienced cleaner go back and check it at the end, do any touch ups that are needed. And we use that as feedback. If they can show up on time, they can do a decent job, they can take the feedback and be receptive to it, that's a person we want on our team.
I completely agree with that too. Like you eventually really can like quickly understand if like you need to do a test clean or not. And you really pick up on like what you're looking for. I've hired people where it's like, I don't need to do a test clean.
Yep.
Like you're saying all the right things. I already know it's going to be fun to work with you. Like it's good. You
Yep.
know? Yeah.
When we were hiring people to go for when we only had residential, right? The turn cleans are nice because we can send them there and it can be a test. And if something goes
Yeah.
wrong, like we can fix it. It's not that big a deal. When we were sending people when we were smaller and didn't have those opportunities to send people into, we did test cleans all the time. We did some at our house. We did some at like neighbors' houses. We go, hey, you want your kitchen clean for free? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd send them in. We knew they were home. So even though we're sending some in, they're background checked, but I still don't necessarily trust them yet. So it's nice if that neighbor can be home while they're there. But yeah, we did a lot of those test cleans early on before we send somebody into a house that is a client of ours.
How many teams roughly do you have right now?
We went from 20 cleaners a month ago to close to 30 right now. And
Oh, so you've been
so,
quite hiring.
yeah. And a lot of those came from that family is a lot
Right.
of the expansion that we've had. And that was specifically because these next couple of weeks, so we're really close. Ohio State is downtown Columbus. And so we have two different contracts where we're doing two different big apartment buildings that are essentially all student housing. They're all turning over within about a 2-week period. So we are doing, I forget what the number is, 150 turn cleans over the next 2 weeks. So we need,
Wow.
it was kind of an all hands on deck. Like,
Yeah.
so that helps to be able to provide that. And then we have a couple of new apartment communities coming online for us as well, where we will be able to keep them on and provide some turn clean opportunities and maybe even some common areas to our more dependable people.
That's great. And are you all contractors?
We are still all contractors. We've offered some of our more long-term residential cleaners, we've offered them the opportunity to become W-2. Most of them don't want it. They
Yeah.
love the freedom of being able to turn down jobs. They love being able, we have one of our most dependable cleaners. She's in the middle of like a 3-week break. She went to visit family in Mexico and she's like, hey, I'm just going to be gone. I'm like, all right, cool. Let you know,
Yeah.
when you get back, let us know and we'll fill your schedule again. They love that. And if they were
Yeah.
W-2, it wouldn't be like that. And so We don't really have any cleaners right now that I think want to be W-2. We have transitioned to an S corp where my wife and I are W-2 employees of the business. So we are all set up that if and when the time is right, we will be able to offer that opportunity to cleaners, but they're all still 1099s right now.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's what I found too. Like, it's like one of the benefits of being a cleaner is typically there's lots of flexibility, in that industry. And yeah, a lot of them, they just don't want to be employees.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're
I will,
experienced cleaners, right? Yeah.
yeah.
It is funny on that note too. I've heard from some people that I've talked to who are starting their business who reach out and ask questions and things like that. They're like, "Well, why would a cleaner, an experienced cleaner, want to take jobs from me?" The reason is running your own business is hard.
Mhm.
And they don't want to run their own business. They want to clean.
Yeah.
And what they realize is that I have to deal with all, if I'm running my own business, I have to deal with all the customers, I have to do all the scheduling, I have to process all the payments. There's a lot that goes on that they just don't want to do. They're great cleaners, they love to clean. And if we can provide them an opportunity to just do that, we'll take care of everything else. My gosh, they're going to be in heaven, right? We literally
Yeah.
just today had a cleaner who texted and they accidentally somehow spilled some oven cleaner on a granite countertop and it doesn't look good. Um, she's not going to have to worry about that. I'm going to be the one talking to the insurance company, talking to the granite restoration company. I'm going to take care of all that stuff so she can focus on cleaning. And she's going to
Yeah.
recognize, hey, this is one of the benefits to working for these guys rather than trying to run my own shop.
Right. Yeah. And if they don't have insurance or something like that, like, running their own shop, it can be a complete nightmare.
100%. It's so multifaceted, and most of the experienced cleaners have realized that they've done it, they've tried it, and it's hard. I'd much rather go here. I can take any job I want. I can clock in and essentially clock in, clock out. I don't have to take it home with me. There's not really anything else to do. We'll do all that stuff for them, and a lot of them really love it.
It sounds like it's the same thing, but it's a completely different job being a cleaner versus running a cleaning company. Can I ask you real quick about pricing? So when you're doing a lot of these like common areas or something, how do you figure out pricing? Especially when it comes to like commercial contracts or something where it's like, people are always curious, like, how the heck do you price this out?
When we first started doing it, I don't think we had a great strategy. A lot of back and forth with ChatGPT is probably how we started, in guessing on how long things were going to take. At this point in time, we've done enough of them that we can look at a space and say, yeah, I think that's going to take us about 3 hours. It's going to take, about 3 man hours to do that. I've also just over the past 3 to 6 months, we now have a skill in Claude that I built that is specifically for proposals. So we can upload blueprints, we can upload plans, we can upload scopes, and just say, hey, here's all this information. Write us a proposal. It'll go through pricing with us. It'll look at all. The last one that I thought was really really cool was a complete new build apartment complex, 80 some units in the building, 20,000 square feet, lots of amenities and things like that. I literally just uploaded the blueprints, like, hey, help me write this proposal, and it started spitting out all this stuff. It's wild, and once it's built, like it's just going to get better. So how do we do it now? Like that's how we do it now. Is we tell Claude to spit these prices out for us, and it's like, well, based on the last 17 proposals you've written, this is kind of what we have seen. Here's where we should be on this one. But it's really trying to estimate time. I think we break it up to, okay, how long does it take to clean this space? How long will it take one cleaner to clean this space? And then we kind of go space by space and we try to estimate time, and then we kind of work backwards from there.
Do you ever have to make adjustments? You just have that in a clause where, if you guys need more time, you can work that out.
I would say with most of our clients, and especially in the multifamily space, most of them will not sign contracts. That's just not how they work. So most of our common areas that we're cleaning right now and turn cleans, there's no contract. If we stop doing a great job, honestly, I think we deserve to get fired anyway. So like, what does a contract really do? Because I don't ever want to be in a situation where the client doesn't appreciate the work that we're providing, or that we don't appreciate how they're running their systems or how they're treating our cleaners or whatever else. I love that either side at any point in time can be like, hey, this isn't working for us anymore. Give us 30 days and then we'll shake hands and part ways. So we don't have contracts like that. There definitely have been some times. We recently had one on this is a relatively small office complex or office space that they added, I don't know, 4 or 5 new desks. The space itself didn't change, but the people in it did. And the usage of the bathrooms went way up. It almost doubled. And so we reached out and be like, hey, I know we agreed upon this price and I know the space hasn't changed. Here's what has changed. And we said like, it's just requiring a little bit more time to clean those bathrooms. And they basically just ignored it.
Yeah.
So we've kept cleaning at the same price. It's not a terrible price. I think it's a little bit off, but it's not terrible. So it's one of those things like, you hope that you've developed a good enough relationship with your clients that they're willing and able to have that conversation with you. Some of them are going to tell you to go fly a kite, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. We'll go ahead and adjust that. But
yeah, no, I love that strategy too. Like, because sometimes you don't want to get stuck in something that doesn't work for you. So
yeah, and it's going to change. Like I've mentioned, I mean, I feel like over the last 12 months, we've changed direction at least 2 or 3 times, big direction changes. And so being able to have that flexibility, I think is really important as well.
Yeah. So like, what's next? Where are you guys going to be at next year?
Yeah. So our goal for this year in terms of revenue was $1 million. We are on track to be barely short of that. I think we're going to be able to make it up over these last few months. But really, we're leaning into impact over income, treating that revenue number as a one metric that can measure, the direction of the business. But really, we want to provide more opportunity. We want to be a member of this community, a steward of the gifts that God has given us. We really view this as God's company. It's not our company. He's put us in charge. We're the managers of it, and our job is to advance this kingdom and to use this company in ways that he sees fit. And right now, one of the ways that we are feeling called is by giving more opportunities to people in disadvantaged situations. And so continue to be a part of that community and lean in and see how we can help.
I love it. Yeah, it's just such a better way of looking at business.
It is.
Instead of just like money, because money will always stress you out and it's never enough,
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when we had Nerd Pilots, our development company before we had ConvertLabs, we had most of our developers in Venezuela when that country was like collapsing. And so luckily, we had just enough money to basically move them out of the country because it was horrible. Like it was very, very dangerous there. Yeah, that was like, probably the best use of money ever in a business that I've done,
And you
just
think
helping.
about that, you completely changed their lives. You completely
Yeah.
changed the trajectory of their lives. What amount of money is worth that?
Yeah.
You cannot put a price on that. And I
Yeah.
think when you view it like that, man, it just gives a whole different meaning to business and life.
Yeah. Especially when, you're creating a business and, you have people who are like, having children and you're giving them all these new opportunities where they can just have a better life and do the things that they want to do. Like that is like so much, it feels so much better than, any money in your pocket or anything like that, Cool. Well, anything else you want to mention or go over before we wrap things up here?
No, I mean, I'll just speak a word of encouragement, I guess, to anybody getting
Yeah.
started or anybody who's early on and hitting those obstacles. Time solves a lot of things, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you hear some of these things and some of the things that I'm saying about where we find business or how we hire cleaners, and a lot of people are going to hear that and be like, well, that doesn't work with where I'm at for where I'm at. And I completely get that, right? You've got to go through some hard stuff and the problems don't stop coming. They just change. And so recognize that even in the seat that I'm sitting in, you think about these revenue numbers and whatever else, it's not that our job all of a sudden got easy and we didn't have to worry about that. It's not that, hey, because we've got a great why, everything gets easy. It doesn't. There are 6 fires that I need to put out before 5 p.m. today, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. The problems don't go away. They just change. And so, word of encouragement, like, find out the reason that your company exists. Find out the reason of why this is important to you, because without it, today's problems won't seem as significant. They won't seem worthy of solving. Tomorrow's problems won't seem worthy of solving. But if you have a good why and you're really focused on something bigger than yourself, those problems are worth solving.
Completely agree. Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that about time too, because I've always said that, well, it's both time and money, but time does solve a lot of problems. And what feels stressful and anxious in the moment, if you give it time, it just normally just disappears. You
And don't
know?
be afraid to fail. Like, don't be afraid
Yeah.
to just try. Like, how do you do this? I don't know. Let's try this and see how it goes. I don't know. If you do it with a good heart and good intentions, like, good things will happen eventually. You're still going to make
Yeah.
lots and lots of mistakes, but you're going to learn from them. And as long as your heart's in the right place, like, people can forgive a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. And look, I mean, we've had thousands of people try to start, a cleaning business or local home service, right? And out of those thousands of people that have just not worked out, right, for whatever reason, nobody's died because their business failed. You know what I mean?
We're cleaning houses here. This isn't like
Yeah.
we're not doing surgeries. Like,
Yeah, and there's no real. I think Vic says this. There's no real emergency in house cleaning, right? It's like sometimes it seems like it. The cleaner's running late, or there's a no show, or whatever, and it feels like the whole house is on fire. But yeah, it's like you can't get stuck into that stressful loop too.
just not worth it. It is not worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Cool, Isaac. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was such a great
Absolutely.
conversation. Congratulations on the incredible business that you've built and what you're doing and the opportunities that you're giving people.
Mhm.
It's just so cool to see. Yeah,
Awesome.
really happy for
I
you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me, and happy to be able to share my story. If anybody has any other questions or wants to hear more, certainly welcome to reach out to me as well.
How can they get a hold of you?
I would say the best place is probably just Isaac at columbuscleaningservice.com. Email is great. I'm more active on LinkedIn than any other social media. So if you want to look me up on LinkedIn, happy to connect there as well.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Isaac. Really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thanks, Kevin.